Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn the page together. Except this time there will be no pages turning. You want to know why? It's less than a page. So, here we go. Without further ado, Frau Trude. There was once a little girl who was obstinate and inquisitive, and when her parents told her to do anything, she did not obey them. So how could she fare well? One day she said to her parents, "I have heard so much of Frau Trude. I will go to her one day. People say that everything about her does look so strange, and that there are such odd things in her house that I have become quite curious." Her parents absolutely forbade her and said, "Frau Trude is a bad woman who does wicked things, and if you go to her, you are no longer our child." But the maiden did not let herself be stopped by her parents' prohibition, and still went to Frau Trude. And when she got to her, Frau Trude said, "Why are you so pale?" "Ah," she replied, and her whole body trembled. "I have been so terrified at what I have seen." "What have you seen?" "I saw a deathly gray man on your steps." "That was a collier." "I saw, then, a sickly green man." "That was a hunter." "After that I saw a blood-red man." "That was a butcher." "Ah, Frau Trude, I was terrified. I looked through the window and saw not you, as I verily believe, the devil himself with a head of fire." Oh, said she, "then you have seen the witch in her proper costume. I have been waiting for you, and wanting you a long time already. You shall give me some light." Then she changed the girl into a block of wood and threw it onto the fire. And when it was in full blaze, she sat down close to it and warmed herself by it and said, "That shines bright for once." What? Okay, so first off, it's like she's obstinate and inquisitive. It just reminds me of those toddlers, those 2-year-olds specifically. You're like, "Okay, do this," and they're like, "Why?" And you're like, "'Cause this." "Why?" And they just keep going. It's like, okay, and they're like, "Why is the sun yellow?" "Because," actual answer. "But why?" Keeps trying to answer the question. Why? That's exactly what popped into my head when I started reading the story. Also part of me is like, were the parents just so done with her that they used reverse psychology? It's like, "Don't go to Frau Trude," knowing that if they told her to not do it, then she would do it. I don't know. I can say nothing of the sort. Then the end. Okay, here's my take. Here's my obviously uneducated opinion. Because I obviously don't have a degree in this kind of thing, otherwise I wouldn't sit here reading you stories in a cape. Or maybe I would. Maybe I'm secretly educated about fairy tales and junk like that. No, so here's what's standing out to me. What's standing out to me is that sometimes we don't, it's really hard. Sometimes we won't learn how to do better until we've done the opposite of better. Kids won't know that running and flying down the stairs is bad until they've face planted, maybe several times. Depends on the child and how reckless they are. I don't know. Or sometimes you're like, "Oh, I don't know, my friend is like, don't talk to this one person because they weren't very nice to me." And you're like, "But they seem so cool, so I'm gonna ignore that advice." Or when your parents do, they're like, "Yeah, you should not do X thing." I don't know, throwing something out there. Drink. Underage especially. And then they're like, "Yeah, you should not do that." And you're like, "Yeah, no." And so sometimes We don't learn our lesson. Like she did with Frau Trude. Like, she's like, and what have you seen? And she's like, oh, kind of getting comfortable. She's like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Like, Frau Trude's like, and then, oh yeah, that was fine. That was fine. Like, she explains it away. There are people who do that. Like, you're like, X thing that you did that I really didn't like. And they're like, oh, it was just a joke. Oh, it was some random thing that happened. I won't do it again. And then they turn you into a block of wood and set you on the fire. It's just... I've said it before, and if I've said it once, I've said it at least once, that just because you got away with it one time does not mean that is an immediate go ahead and do it all of the times, because obviously you have this magical I'm not gonna get caught curse blessing thing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because it does happen, especially like the one example I gave forever ago was on lying. You're eventually gonna get caught, and it's gonna suck. I mean, speaking from experience. So, yeah. So, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents. Yeah, that's typically speaking pretty good advice 9 out of 10 times. Yeah, listen to your parents. Listen to just good advice in general. Like, if you keep getting the same advice over and over from people who care about you, you're probably right. Like, obviously there's an exception to every rule, but like, if it's like friends and family telling you, hey, maybe you shouldn't do X thing. Maybe you shouldn't do X thing. Just saying. Yeah. And if someone has a ready explanation for everything, like, you're like, what about X thing? They're like, oh, it's just that. It's probably not a good thing. Because you don't have a ready explanation for certain things unless you've been practicing said explanation. Like, if you've been lying for a really long time, or you're like worried you're gonna get that question, and so you practice it, and you're like, oh yes, and I know how to be nonchalant about this answer or whatever. Or they're just like making stuff up, but the fact that they have an answer, like, it's okay. Here's my other point. It's okay to not have an answer when someone's like, hey, this thing that you did or said, or like X thing, what do you think about that? Like, what's up with that? It's okay to be like, whoa, I did not see this coming. Can I get back to you? Like, it's like, I don't like have the answer you want right now. Can I get back to you? That's okay. Unless their question is like, hey, I'm about to fall off a cliff. Can you please save me? Then you really can't get back to them. Unless they have exceptional arm strength. Which most people don't. So, like, maybe you're like, help. They're like, help, please, I'm gonna fall off the cliff. And you're like, wait right there. I'm gonna go get a tree branch or, like, a person, or, like, call 911 and then come back to help you. That would be the acceptable answer in that point. Or let me set down my backpacks first, or... That was a tangent. That was a whole tangent. I totally went off on that tangent. Yeah. Listen to your parents. Take good advice. And it's okay if you need to get back to someone on a question they've got. Yeah, this was another... I'm starting to sense a theme coming in these fairy tales where it's like... Because in the one yesterday, it was like, I'm gonna go see this person, and then a bunch of weird stuff happens. And then I almost die or do die. Well, we'll see if that theme continues to occur throughout the fairy tales as we go. I mean, we've already picked up several themes. Here we go. Well, thank you for joining us for another happily ever after, or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide, and whatever you decide is valid. You're valid. Either way, we've reached the end for this episode, so tune in later and we can learn more and turn a new page together.